Is there something better than having a cup of coffee and flipping through a journal you've just finished and created with your own hands? For me, flipping through a finished journal is always something really, really special. Not only because my desk is clean again, I have no glue on my fingers anymore, but it's also special because, yeah, having this finished thing that you created with your own hands in front of you, that is just amazing. And it's like a book full of ideas and, of course, a lot of work as well, but work that is fun. In each journal, there's also a lot of heart and soul, of course, and a lot of special papers and perhaps also a lot of ideas. And since you have clicked to this video, you are obviously also interested in flipping through this journal, and I'm really happy that you are here today. Welcome. So this is my Dried Gatherings junk journal. I have some other videos where I show you some of the things that I have created in here. If you're interested in that, you can find the links down below in the description box. I have used a digital paper collection from my shop for this journal. That paper collection is also called Dried Gatherings, so it's the same name like this journal. If you're interested in that, then you can also find the links down below in the description box. There's a total of 3 items that you can mix and match. There's Dried Gatherings Junk Journal Pages Volume 1 and Volume 2 and a matching ephemera pack available. When I flip through such a journal, and especially when I make a video where I know that you are watching this video, then it's special and I'm really happy on the one hand, but on the other hand, it feels a little bit like weird because it's like I would be together with a lot of friends, with you, and we are all eating those, do you know those little chocolate eggs with a surprise in them? In German they are called Kinderüberraschungsei. So it's normally meant for children, but you know, it's chocolate outside and this yellow thing inside, and there are little like toys and such stuff inside. And I feel like we are all eating those eggs and everyone is surprised except myself. It feels like I already know what is inside of this egg, and all of you don't know it, because of course I know what I have done in this journal and I know each and every page and every single detail that I have created here. And that is something like, you know, a little bit, I don't want to say sad, but it's somehow a bit weird. But today it's different, and I think it's the first time, the first time of my YouTube journey here, and the first time that I flip through a journal, and it's not the only flip through that is available with this paper collection today. My friend Nicole at Nature Spirit Journals has also made a journal with the Dried Gatherings paper collection, and she has a flip through on her channel today as well. That means that not only I can watch her flip through today and see another journal made with this paper collection, but you can watch that as well, of course. I'm really happy that we could manage that to publish our videos at the same day. So Nicole, if you're watching this, thank you very, very much. Please go to her channel and watch the other video as well. You can see another variation because she has done different things with the same paper collection. But at the same time, you can see, I think, many parallels. Not only that she has used the same paper, but she has also used some elements that I have used in my journal as well. I think especially when you are new to junk journaling, or perhaps you also, perhaps when you make this for a longer time and you are stuck with your ideas, for example, then I think it's really, really helpful to see different variations of, a journal that uses the same paper and sometimes in some spots the same ideas, but it's totally different, yeah, even if there are parallels. Oh, hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. So I have tried, I think successfully tried, to leave a lot of space in this journal for the new owner, for a lot of creative hours, so that, for example, I have this example paper so that I can show you the empty tuck spots and pockets and so on. So here, for example, the new owner of this journal could tuck something behind. And of course, this journal is made for turning it into your own, yeah? So I'm talking to the new owner. That is always a really, really big wish when I make a journal and the journal goes into my shop, that, yeah, I think it's important that the person who buys it turns it into a really unique and special thing, even if the most of you say, when I buy a journal from you, then it is already special and unique. Do you know what I mean? But there is coming something together that has a really deep meaning for me, because I spent a lot of hours making this journal, and I have put a lot of my own emotion into this journal, and also the others as well. There goes a lot of emotion into such a journal. And when then another person who buys the journal puts also a lot of emotion and own things and the own creativity into such a journal, then it's even more special in the end, even if I, in the most cases, won't see that, what is going to happen with the journal. Of course, how, yeah? So when the person has this journal at home, then I will probably not see it anymore, but that's okay, because I know that something special will happen with the journal. What am I trying to say here? Here's a pocket and here's a flip out. Sometimes I really have problems to bring into words what's in my brain, but when I know the person has the journal, and, for example, the person is going to write in the journal, he or she is going to put own things into the journal, then I know that it is something really personal and special, and that is enough for me, yeah, when I know that. And yeah, that also brings, of course, that sounds a little bit kitschy, but it brings people together. I think junk journaling is something that really brings people together in a really, really special and personal and, yeah, on a small space somehow. Even if I share this journal with you, it's something, of course, now it's in the public when you see it, but it's something really personal and on a small space somehow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I can explain that. It's perhaps this feeling because when the new owner has the journal and puts something inside, then it's a small space, because then that is something that you won't see anymore. Do you know what I mean? That is a little bit weird. This is not weird. And I think I can explain this better than the other thing. I have tried to include some die cuts to my digital paper. For example, here I have tried to glue the die cut down so that it is one with the paper in the background. Can you see that? This brown stick here goes completely down here. This white flower starts here, and the stick goes along here, so that it then, hopefully, so that was my intention, looks that like the die cut is part of this arrangement. And I really enjoyed to include die cuts and also real leaves into the design of the paper. Here, for example, you can see a part of a real ginkgo leaf, which I've also, with the same intention like here, glued to the center of this printed ginkgo leaf. And I had a lot of fun doing that. That was really, really cool. And how can I bring this thought to you? when you have a digital paper and you want to add your own elements, like for example die cuts, yeah, this flower is a die cut and this bird is a die cut as well, both by Zizix and Tim Holtz. When you think about the position of the die cut and you want to include that into a digital paper, then you are, in my opinion, really close to yourself. You get somehow one with the paper, like the die cut gets one with the paper. Does that make sense? I will link all of the die cuts and also stamps that I've used for this journal down below in the description box. I have already made a blog post on my website about this journal, and I will put additional information to that blog post. So if you already have read the post and looked at it, you can be sure if you click to the link again in the description box, then you can find additional information and also additional photos that I couldn't include earlier, of course, because this is finished now and not when it was not finished when I made the blog post. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I have printed my Dried Gatherings printable to matte photo paper, which has the photo surface on one side and copy paper on the other side. So this is both the photo surface, and on the other side there's the copy paper surface. You can see the colors are relatively different. Of course, it's a different kind of paper, then you get different results with printing, but I really like how the effect of that came out in this journal. This journal is autumn themed, of course, and if you know me, you know that I am not this typical crafter that crafts in themes. This is a theme, of course, but normally I'm more into color combinations, and it's not so important for me that a journal has like a real theme. Like for example, let's say we make a journal about fish, yeah, then many people would include like only fish into the journal, images, magazine cutouts, book pages, all about fish. For me, in a journal about fish, and that's only of course an example, but it's for all of the themes that could be existing for a junk journal, it's not so important to have only fish in the journal. So it's also not important for me to only have autumn in this journal, even if autumn is of course a bigger theme, like a more general theme than fish. Yeah, autumn is way more wider than the theme fish. Do you know what I mean? And I like to include things that match color-wise and that make a journal interesting, but not so extremely pointed to one theme. That makes it for me way more interesting. For example, here, this is autumn color-wise, I would say. This butterfly is not so crazy autumn, not so extreme autumn, yeah, but it fits here because the colors fit, and it makes a really, really nice bridge to the other pages, and that's why this page is here. And I don't care about if this is perhaps the only butterfly I have in here, but why can't I put it here? Why am I telling you that? I am telling you that because I know that there are many people out there who are struggling with themes for a journal. And I want to encourage you to think a little bit like outside the box, outside the theme. Because who says what you have to put into a journal? Yeah, it's your own decision. And the only person who can decide what to put into a journal, that's you. Yeah. So here, this is a tag shape. It looks like a tag at first glance, but it's a pocket. I've just taken this example paper. This is too big, of course, but I want to show you where the pockets are so that you know where you could put your own things into those little things. And here I have tried something, and I'm really happy how this turned out. I have glued some fabric. This is some Tim Holtz fabric onto a little thicker paper, and then I have cut this bird with the Silhouette Birds die cut. So this is covered with fabric compared to this one, which is cut out from black paper. This has no fabric, it's just paper. But when you flip through this, then for me it's really interesting to have these different tactile experiences. The different surfaces make this really, you know, you want to touch this, and that is really interesting. So perhaps it's an idea for you as well. And it's of course also a nice thing how you can vary your die cuts. You don't have to cut them out only from paper. You can also cut them out from different materials. This comes from a digital printable from my shop as well. This is from the Dragonfly Lovers Notebook from the ephemera pieces. And then I would like to talk about this page. When I had this page here, I thought, can I really leave this page this empty? Because this page is like a little bit weird for several different reasons. If you don't look closer to this and what this is. This page is blue, as you can see. This blue matches the orange really well. But it's somehow something that is nowhere else, and it's empty. And then I thought, I have to leave this here exactly like it is. On the one hand, of course, I want the new owner to have space for own journaling, for own creativity. Here you could also make a relatively big collage, or you could make your own pockets or whatever if this is too empty for you. But on the other hand, I wanted to show you that it's okay and good to have empty pages in a journal. Imagine the new owner would write something here with a black or really dark brown pen. I think that would look absolutely amazing. And if I would glue or stamp or stencil something to this page, it wouldn't be the same anymore. And then it wouldn't be the same for the new owner to create something here. This card also comes from another printable from my shop. This comes from the Dancing with the Pansies set. A really colorful set with a lot of orange and a little bit like, you know, art journalish things. Big contrasts, extreme colors, but I thought this is perfect for this journal because autumn is exactly that. It's orange, it's extreme. Autumn is art in my eyes. And what nature does in autumn is art. And because of that, I thought this is really interesting here. And I think that goes really well together with the Dried Gatherings ephemera as well. On this little element, I made some mushrooms out of circles. There's also a video about this technique. At first glance, you can't see that those mushrooms have been circles before, but this is really easy. And if you love mushrooms and if you want to make like a little mushroom stash, then this is a really, really great way to do that. And it's also a great way to use up your scraps. If you're interested in that, check out the link below the video and watch that video. This is journal number 101. Oh, it feels so strange. If you have watched my previous videos, you know I had this really crazy moment of stamping the 100 in, you know, the journal before this journal. And that was special. But when I stamped 101 here, I was like, holy cow, I have to take out 3 stamps now and not only 2. That is such a weird feeling to come over this number 100. Really, really crazy. Yeah, so here we have some journaling space as well, or collage material or whatever. Of course, you don't have to use this as journaling space. You can also tear it and make collages or something. This can be tucked behind this flap of this envelope, which is here. I mean, the rest of the envelope is here. I've just attached that with a little paper clip so that you have the possibility to take that off. That makes it easier to put something into the envelope and take that out again. And I also thought perhaps the new owner wants to turn this into a flip out. Of course, you could do that as well. Just take this off and then make a little hinge and you know, you could also attach it so that it flips out to the side. Some people like that better. And I thought with this method, with the paperclip, we have some, or the new owner has some options. Perhaps you know this little thing, which has had a really long time in my stash. I have created this without the camera. That was actually a relatively like cute accident, a happy accident, because this little bunny here, can you see him? He is not meant to be a bunny, but in this case he is a bunny. Originally this came from a die cut set, also by Zizix and Tim Holtz. It's from this, the name is, I think, Brush Stroke Flowers Mini or something similar. And this is a little petal, no, not petal, that's the wrong word, it's the green part. Leaf, I think that's the right word, of a rose. Yeah, so when you look at it like this, you can see here's one leaf and there's one leaf. And when I had cut this out from this black paper and it was laying on my desk, I thought, this is a bunny. And yeah, it's depending on the perspective what this is. And I thought this is the perfect journal for this thing, because with this mushroom, you know, and this is a coffee filter, which I've used as the base for making this little collage. This is just a paper doily, and this black thing is something like a napkin, or like this thing that you put under a glass to protect your table. And this is just made with a die cut from a book page. So I wanted to have this like cozy. I wanted to give this collage a frame with these layers, and I think that turned out really cute. So if you have that die cut and you find the bunny, of course you could create something like this for your own journal as well. And these little bird houses, there's also a video available. I will link that down below for you as well. You can see these have these little holes in here, and just have to fold this because I think it's a little bit too wide. When you put something in here, then you can see that through this hole. As you can see, this is empty. I did that on purpose also with this pocket here on the front, because I want this to become one and something new with the thing that the new owner will put in here. Is that weird? I don't know, but that's what's in my brain, and that's why I did it like so. And perhaps you are asking, if you have the Dried Gatherings printable, what can I combine with this printable? I have already made a video where I have talked about that, so that is also linked below this video if you want to watch that. But I want to talk about this card because while I worked on this journal, there have been some thoughts where I thought it could be worth it to share them with you. This card is relatively neutral, isn't it? But it's not only brown. Here on the left, you can see there's a tiny little bit of dirty purple, relatively light. And here on the left, here on the bottom, there's a little bit of pink. Can you see that? It's not only brown. And I think that is a really nice combination with the Dried Gatherings printable, when you have neutral things, but neutral things with color. So not only browns, but things that have a little like tint of color. I think that makes it really interesting, and it's like a wave that goes through the journal. That is always a goal that I have with my journals. This page is a good example for that. Look at this green in the background. It's relatively subtle, isn't it? Also this here, this is bundled sage oxiding. It's relatively backgroundish. The colors here, this neutral book page and what's on the book page is relatively neutral, but it has color. This is not brown, it's like orangey somehow. And in combination with those really intense orange and yellow colors of the printable, this gets like a wave, like an emotion for the eye somehow. When I make a journal, I have the goal that when you flip through the journal, you have something like an emotional wave through the journal. This page here is a relatively good example for what I'm trying to say here, and for the combination especially with the dried gatherings paper. But what I'm saying here is of course also possible for other papers that are really like bam. Yeah, for example, look at this page and please concentrate your eye on this edge and go around here, but please include this. Can you see that? Here is this really extreme orange. It's here again. It's like a color bridge. It connects these pages. Imagine this wouldn't be here. Can you see how, oh, then, but here it's again. So imagine this wouldn't be there. Look at this double spread. Doesn't it look really, really weird with this orange here? This orange on the bottom, it looks relatively lost somehow. And with these things, it's like a bridge. It's really extreme and it catches this orange here. But the balance for me and this wave that I'm trying to explain here comes with these neutral colors, which are not only brown, but a little bit of this green, which reminds to bundle sage. This like antique linen color here. Do you know what I mean? That, yeah. And why am I telling you that? You ask me so often how to get a cohesive look for a journal, how to bring this harmony into a journal. And I think it's exactly that. Do you know harmonious journals which can look boring? I'm a little bit afraid of saying that because I don't want to say anything bad about other journals. It also happened to myself that I made journals where I thought, okay, let's check the colors. Let's look that we have a really smooth bridge between the colors. Don't like include bam colors, but that can make a journal relatively boring in my eyes. It's only my own opinion. And I think it's good when we have an opinion about our own work and when we can see. I mean, look, when I say I have seen a journal from someone else and that looks boring in my eyes, what is that? It's my own opinion. It doesn't say that the journal is boring for everyone, because I'm sure there are people who like those journals, yeah? But I think it's important to have your own opinion about how you feel things, because if you would never say, I don't like that journal, it's boring to me, you couldn't find a way to create your own journal that you find interesting. And the only one who has to find your journal interesting is you. If other people find it interesting as well, then it's like, you know, winning the lottery, and it's really nice, of course, and you can be happy about that, and you can get nice feedback about that, and that can bring you positive things as well. But in the first minute when you make your journal, you have to be satisfied with it, and you have to find it interesting, and not the rest of the world. Do you know what I mean? And for that, I think it's important to see, oh, that is something that I like. That is something that I don't like. Why? It's, for example, boring in my eyes. And then ask why. Why do you find that boring? And I would say, if someone would say, this journal is boring because there's a lot of paper from this paper collection, there's a lot of the same green, there's a lot of the same patterns, there's a lot of the same die cuts, stamps, and so on. What I see as repetition that makes a journal interesting can be totally boring for someone else. But what would happen if someone would say, this is boring? That's such a big chance. Please think about that for a second. That is such a big chance. If you would say, this is totally boring, it uses the same colors, the same this and that through the whole journal. What a big chance for me. Because when I hear that, I can think about that and I can reflect and revisit my thoughts in some way, and I can think about if I agree with that person. And if I then think, okay, the person is right, somehow it really looks boring. Yeah, but think about that. There's another chance. You have a journal, it's already bound, you have your papers, you have done something, and there's another chance. If you then think by yourself it's boring, you have the chance to change it, and you have the chance to work in it and turn it into something that you don't find boring anymore. That's perfect. And that is something that is really important for me in combination with junk journaling. Yeah, that is a part of junk journaling. I don't want to say that is junk journaling because there are so many other things, but you know, it's a really big and important point for me. Yeah. I have also played around with some die cuts in white and black, and I also want to point that out because there are a lot of people who say, I have die cuts, but I don't know how to use them. Please think about using a die cut more as a shape than a concrete image. This is a flower, of course. If I would take out my watercolors or my distress inks or whatever and color this, and if I would make, for example, the stem green and these little guys yellow, and I would paint this really like a realistic watercolor thing, yeah, I could do that, of course, and this would look awesome. But there are people who don't have the skills to do that. I am in this club as well of those people who can't do that, and I don't have so much fun coloring my die cuts. I don't like to sit down and make this green and these things here. It's not that I don't want to learn it, and it's for sure that I will one day try that out, but I enjoy using these more like shapes. And especially with white and black, I mean, here I have stamped and embossed. It's not only black, I have tried to get some variation, the same with this fabric here on the birds. But white and black can help really, really much. And in my eyes, especially when you have a journal that has a lot of extreme and intense colors like this one. I mean, this printable is really, you know, bam, it's autumn. Autumn is bam, isn't it? And because of that, I think black and white balances this thing really well. And with the die cuts, of course, you have an easy job. You can see I have included other colors as well because I didn't want to have it too extremely black and white, and I thought it's nice to have some other colors as well. But as you can see, it's a solid thing. Yeah, it's just a shape. It's not like with details or something. But especially with this Dried Gatherings printable, I think that also adds to this idea of creating a wave and an emotional feeling for the eye, and with that for you when you flip through it as well. Because the paper has a lot of details. The paper has a lot of really tiny things that you can explore with your eye. It's really detailed. And when you then add something like such a solid shape or a solid stamp, for example, stamp impression, then I think it adds to this wave that you then can create through the journal. Yeah. I always feel a bit, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but you know, when you sit here and you talk to your camera and no one is there, then it's a bit, yeah, it's somehow weird to explain those things because sometimes it's so emotional. Sometimes it's something that you can't really explain, but I know that you are interested and you ask a lot of questions that go into that direction. What was in your brain when you did that? What did you think when you, for example, and this is a good example, put this paper here with this extreme red. What have you thought? I mean, if you look at this, you can see this red is here and it's nowhere else in the journal. This journal plays with orange, with yellow, with brown, with green, and so on, a little bit of blue, a little bit of gray, but this red, I mean, looks like I had sunglasses on my eyes when I glued this here. But please take a moment and think about this. And please imagine you are in a forest in autumn. If you are in the forest and you look like around fastly, then you would perhaps say the forest is orange or the forest is brown, depending on the season where you are there, or also depending on the distance. If you look to a forest from very far away, you might see only one color at first glance. You would say it's orange, it's brown, or in summer it's green. If you go closer and if you look closer and take a moment for, like, you know, breathing and taking the time to explore the colors in the forest, then it could happen that you think, oh, there is one little like tree or one little plant that has exactly this color. And do you know those situations where you think, I see something in nature that is so unexpected, such an extreme contrast in color. If someone would paint this picture, what I can see with my eye, then another person would say that is a totally unrealistic picture. Do you know those situations? Sometimes nature has colors that are so extreme, and especially in autumn and in a forest, you have sometimes this one spot with this red, and the rest is like the other colors. Does that make sense? And that's the reason why this paper is here. Why does it always take so much time to explain one little thing? On this page, I've included one of these leaves that I got in a Happy Mail a relatively long time ago. I've hoarded them because they are just so awesome. During last year's EPHEMERA, I've already used one of these leaves, and now here's the second one. And the others are in my drawer, and I look at them and I think, oh, they are so beautiful. I want to put them to my wall as a wallpaper or something. So awesome. It's just amazing. And here I thought this is just perfect because look, this thing here, I mean, that's not a coincidence. I've added this here exactly here because this rectangle here, yeah, is exactly in this line where here the gold is, and this gold looks like a line somehow. The leaf goes to the left here. Can you see the rest of this? Oh, I have to hold it like this so that you can see the gold as well. If you look at this like so, then you think, oh, that's a leaf, yeah? But when the light comes there, the gold is in one line with this pocket. This goes here to the left and it gets one with this background. This is from a book that had really cool pictures, and look how harmonious this is. And I really love this, like, you know, playing with light, because that is what happens in autumn as well, and what happens when you go through a forest and there's sun. And you know, I like to have these things like a little bit yeah, like interactive elements somehow, because you won't sit there and press the page down and stare at the page. You would probably take the page and turn it, or when you write in the journal, you have it in an angle and then the light is different, and you know, so that you have the chance also to explore the different surfaces of the different papers. And that's something that, of course, makes junk journaling very special. Play around with different surfaces, different papers. This, for example, is some braille paper, and you can feel what's written here, which makes another surface, or for example, if you look at this paper, I have stenciled here with some, yeah, I don't know, it's not texture paste, it's something else. I don't know how this medium is called. I had a rest of that and I wanted to try something out, so I put that through the stencil. It has texture, different texture than the other things, yeah, that is different than the braille paper, of course. It adds to the journal texture-wise, but I also made something like with the gold on the leaf, look, so that you have this autumn sun feeling as well, depending on the angle of the light. Yeah. And a while ago I talked about boring journals and what we can learn from that for ourselves, for our own journals. And I also want to mention this thing with repetition. You can see through the whole journal, we have the dried gatherings paper from my shop. We have, for example, this paper, which I've used to make pockets, or this paper, which I've shown you here. The braille paper is something that repeats. The birds, also the color of the birds, some fabric elements, some stenciling. I've used the same die cuts, the same stamps through the whole journal. That is for me a way of repetition that can make a journal interesting. In my eyes, to make an harmonious journal, repetition can help a lot. But what I also find really interesting is to include things that are unique and that are only one time in the journal. Like, for example, the leaf that I've just shown you, or this here, or this little collage with the butterfly, those things, the tiny little rabbit, things that you have only one time in the journal. For example, also this card here. There's a video available how I made this as well. I will link that down below for you so that you can check that out as well. I've used my method of making oxide ink waterproof on photo paper. Yes, you've heard right. If you're new here, you've heard right. You can make oxide ink waterproof. Watch the video if you want to know how. This is a bigger pocket. Yeah. It's always a little bit sad. I mean, it's nice when you finished a journal, and I really love this journal and I'm happy how it came out, but it's also at the same time always a little bit sad because now it will leave me, and that's sad. But at the same time, I'm so happy that it will get a new home. Do you know what I want to say? I'm sad that this journal has to leave me now, but I'm also happy that it will get to someone else and that the other person has fun with it and can be creative in this journal. And that is more important. Yeah, so that is really much worth. And when I look at that and this point, then it's not so crazy that I'm sad now. Do you know what I mean? Ah, English. English is such a crazy language. I'm asking myself so often if I will sometime, if there will come the day where I can just say what I want in English. I think it will take me a while until that can happen. Okay, so this is my journal. I hope you like this. And if you have any question, as always, please leave a comment. I will try my best to answer that. And if you want to check out my blog post, I would be really happy. There you can find all the information about the paper collection, about the stamps and die cuts, and you can also find more photos of this journal. And yeah, I hope that you have a very creative time with your own journals. And I'm hoping that we will see you the next time again. Have a great day. Bye bye.